and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Martin, and what we're going to try and do with this channel is show some of the adventures that we experience after retirement. So I made it down to Eves. I've been here a week now, settled down nicely, nice and relaxed, done a few jobs, got some of my own admin out of the way, which is great. And now I'm off for a bit of a walk. I'm about 2 minutes away from Eve's house, and as you can see, and possibly hear, a lovely piece of woodland. I believe it's called beech wood, and there are beech trees, which is quite good. Yeah, let's see how it goes. Well, haven't been going very far, or for very long, and in the first week at Eve's house, the only songbirds I've seen or heard was one great tit and two starlings. And as I say, I'm less than 5-minute walk from the house into this woodland. I've already heard willow warblers singing, chiffchaffs singing, robins singing. So it's all here. It's just taken a little while to encounter it. But yeah, so far so good. Great fun. Now this might be known as beechwood, but there's a magnificent old oak tree here. Absolutely incredible. And another that really show the magnificence of it, really. It's a bit dark, but take it from me, it is magnificent. That's something we don't see all that often in the fens. This is a sweet chestnut tree, big one, and right next to it is a big lime tree. In fact, even bigger lime tree, huge, fantastic. And there's a leaf warbler in there, tweeping away. When I say leaf warbler, could be willow warbler, could be chiffchaff. I suppose down here it could even be wood warbler. I don't know what wood warbler call sounds like. I need to check up on that. So then, we've already had to make one navigational decision. It's like a rabbit warren of pathways along here, but let's hope we've taken the right one. We're heading towards a place called Westvington, and from there, not really sure. I kind of have an hankering to go up onto the top of Salisbury Plain, onto the Ridgeway, which supposedly is one of the oldest roads in Europe. I don't know how I know that or where I know that from, but we shall see. The thing that kind of puts me off a little bit about going up onto the Ridgeway, bearing in mind I'm sort of in a bit of a valley at the moment and it's nice and cool, is up there. There's not a lot of, well, no shade at all, not a lot of protection, and it is forecast to be stinking hot this afternoon. So yeah, I'll make that decision when I get to Westvington, and we'll see where we get to. Other than that, I might circle round, find an alternative route back, but one that offers a bit like this, a bit of shade, and yeah, pleasantness. this is one of the anomalies that they have in this part of the world, where the ground suddenly either goes up or goes down. I think they're called hills or something like that. It's very disconcerting. I didn't realise I was on the top of a hill until it's kind of, I don't know what this bridge is for, but clearly it's part of the hill. Yeah, weird. Don't get these in the fens. Woo. Wow, look at this. Fantastic. I did notice just to back a little bit up the track, a badger set right on the edge of the path. I mean, we get badger sets all over the place these days, but certainly the ones that I encountered at Wicken Fen were sort of out of the way, whereas here they just seem to be, well, any old place. Wow, look at this rock outcrop. That's all been, I don't know if I can show you, that's all been eroded under there. Then there's a big chunk of rock, and then a beech tree growing out on top of it. Amazing. And there's the foliage. Oh, a bit disconcerting this time. Going down to the bowels of the earth. I've managed to get this camera shake malarkey sorted out. Still haven't got a gimbal, but I'm just taking it nice and steady so that anybody watching doesn't sort of get seasick. But at this pace, I'm probably never even going to make it to Market Lavington, let alone get anywhere else. But this is amazing. It's just a simple footpath that clearly over time, footfall and water erosion has sort of worn it away. But it's created some really interesting little features. Not spectacular, just really interesting. And that's what it looks like when you go up a hill. That's upwards. I don't know why you'd do that though. Why would you have hills going up and down? It's just extra work. Doesn't make much sense to me. Okay then, so survived West Lavington. Quite a nice little place, pub, shop, you know, sort of thing you'd expect to see in a village. I didn't record any of it because it was a busy road. It's quite noisy, and you probably wouldn't have been able to hear very much of what I've got to say anyway. So I've taken the momentous decision to go for the Ridgeway. It's on top of the valley edge. It's quite a steep climb, so we'll see how we get on, but we should be okay. And then we'll be on Salisbury Plain, so or on the proper Salisbury Plain. I believe West Lavington is actually in Salisbury Plain, so presumably we are in it at the moment, but the bits I've seen so far don't resemble what's around me at the moment, so which, as you can see, is mostly trees. And although you can't make that out, there's a bit of a grazed field there. So yeah, that's where we're going to go. We've got another one of these weird hill things to go down just now. You get that sinking feeling, but apparently it's perfectly natural, and I'm sure I'll get used to it, but I don't know, weird. Something of a novelty to me, at least. I've just got down to the bottom of this hill, slight incline, and found this lovely sort of chalk stream, culverted, but nice clean water. But the thing that I've stopped for is, the novelty for me is there's a coal tit singing, and I haven't got to hear many coal tits. In recent years they're not a big thing in the fens, but yeah, very pleasant. Right, there's an up bit with a vengeance here. Thankfully someone has seen fit to put steps in, which kind of ease the way a little bit, but it's up. Oh, now I've got a crossroads junction. What does the map say? Home farm. I think I want to take the right, which is fortunate because that means there's not so much let me show you. I hope I don't get copyright problems here. No, you can't make out and I can't point because I've only got two hands. But I'm going to turn right. I'm going to go that way. That'll take me to a little road which then leads back onto the footpath, so that's where we're going. Although it does look a bit convoluted. If I go straight on, no, keep going until I get to the road, then turn left instead of going straight on. Got it. Okay, see you soon. Where we're going. Up another hill. Check to make sure I know where I am. So these maps, incidentally, are produced by the yellow walking maps. Really helpful. Convenient size, laminated, and they're based on Ordnance Survey, so they're familiar. You know where you are with them. So now I came up there, turned left at that crossroads, and this is that crossroads where I've got to turn right, so I've got to go that way, and then the bridleway veers off to the left after about, I don't know, probably 500 metres or so, looking at this, and then we get up onto the Ridgeway. I think I'll have a bit of a drink now, and then when I get up there, have a proper break, a bit of a rest, and have one of my apples. Right, let's wrap this up so that I can read it without having to keep taking it out. Right, let's go. Well, according to my trusty yellow walk maps and Ordnance Survey, that behind me is the last of the shade. We've now emerged from the tree belt. There's a slight incline, not too hilly, but we're now emerging out up onto the top of the plain, which I'm really looking forward to. Eve took me up there in the car a couple of evenings earlier in the week, and well, it's a fascinating landscape. It's not unusual in that, you know, it's sort of rolling downland. It's just fascinating from my perspective because it's not what I'm used to, and I know I'm not in the fens, but it's the undulations, and it looks very much as if it was carved out by water, so there's like meanders, but I can't see any evidence of water, and certainly a lot of those are actually on top of a hill, so you have to ask, you know, where did the water come from to create the force to erode those gullies. So I need to do a little bit of investigating, a little bit of research, and find out how the land was formed. You know, is it sort of glacial? Is it water? I suppose it could have been wind or ice eroded, but I really don't know. But it is fascinating, and I brought my binoculars this time. The other two occasions I came up here, I forgot my binoculars, which was a bit frustrating. We did see a wheat ear, but yeah, looking forward to this. But blimey, it's hot. Okay, in a bit. Right, we're up here. Of course, I've read every one of those. But in all seriousness, this is a dangerous place. There's the Ridgeway, and if we go across here, that is a byway down there, which, as it says, is open except when the red flag's flying. Now, I see no red flag, but I'm not going to go down there. I'm going to stick to the Ridgeway, the bit on the top, which is just back here. It's interesting, it's partly an iron road, i.e. tarmac, and partly sort of loose surface. This is quite interesting. It's not every day you see signs like this. I imagine that when these guys are travelling round, the sort of ground rumbles a little bit here. Not so much when cyclists are going by, but yeah, it does bring home the importance of making sure you are familiar with the bylaws, making sure you are abiding by the rules, and you're not going into those areas when those red flags are flying, and you certainly don't leave the byways at any point, at any time. It's dangerous. There's lots of unexploded ordnance out there, I imagine. If you do leave the track, you could easily get lost, as you'll see a little bit later. But yeah, it's worth keeping an eye on things. I'll say one thing for it up here. It might be out in the open, but there's a lovely breeze. A little bit warm, but yeah, it's really nice, really nice. And as you can see, there's not a square inch of shade to be had anywhere. But yeah, we're in a bit of a sort of an arable belt. I have noticed around some of the fringes of the plain, the areas are let for arable farming. I believe it's still under the ownership of the Crown. It's still Ministry of Defence land, but it's sort of farmers rented, or that's how it seems. I don't think it's owned, because some of the fields that are cropped are actually inside the what they call the impact zones, and they're areas where ordnance could land. I'm sure these guys with the best will in the world do make mistakes, and shells and stuff. I think they test missiles over here as well, I'm not sure, but they do go astray, so something to bear in mind if you do come this way. And if you are down here, as I say, it's, if you're not used to this kind of thing with sort of wide open space, wide open tracks, yes, there are signs saying don't go in here, but when you know why, you don't really want to. But a lot of access, awful lot of access. People down here are really lucky. Now, I'm sure the views on here don't look as impressive as they are on the camera, but it's sort of tinged with a little bit of sadness, I suppose. You won't make it out, but between sort of where the land is and the deep blue sky, there's a thin layer of, I mean, it could be dust, but it's grey, and I have seen it in other countries, and in other countries it's pollution, and you probably wouldn't notice it until you get an elevated view, but there's this sort of like a grey fog, and it's made the landscape in front of me sort of look a little bit hazy. As I say, it could be dust, it is very dry, but it's got a sort of browny grey tinge to it, which is a little bit ominous. Hope I'm wrong, but don't know. Wow, I've just ventured off the track onto this harvested, I don't know what it was, beans maybe, I don't know what it was, field. But you can see why things like stone curlew like it up here so much. The ground is littered with flint, and yeah, again, you don't get this in the fens. Now, I'm not sure if you can make that out. This is on my phone at maximum magnification, but across the valley there's a white horse carved into the turf. Now, I believe, if that's the one that Eve showed me a little while ago, that's a fairly new one. It was done a decade or so ago to commemorate something or other. I can't remember the story now. But another name for the Ridgeway here is the White Horse Trail. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but Wiltshire and I think Dorset are renowned for, because they're based on chalk sort of substrate, chalk and limestone substrate, which is a white stone. They're renowned for carvings in the turf, all sorts of things. This is quite sobering. This is a commemorative post from the villages, the Lavingtons and Cheverels, Easterton, and it commemorates all the people that have died from those villages. At the top there's a whole list of locations, the Dardanelles, Gallipoli, all sorts of places, and then around the outside There's Lark Hill. The arrows point to Lark Hill, again the Dardanelles, the Western Front, and some of the places where some of the far-reaching soldiers and people that have died came from. So yeah, quite poignant. Well, having said I wasn't going to venture down any of these side tracks, it was all a bit too tempting, I'm afraid. There is no firing today. I checked before I left home. There's a very useful government website actually. You can check and find out where military activities are going to be on the 3 ranges that are on Salisbury Plain. I suspect it may be due to the dry weather. I understand that a few weeks ago part of Salisbury Plain caught fire and quite a bit of it was damaged, but which it's inevitable, it's tinder dry. So presumably they've taken that on board and are not going to run the risk of setting off again. Incidentally, on either side of me there are signs that say that, and again, if any warning was required about not leaving the tracks, those are it. Imagine at the very least you get your legs blown off. Yeah, sobering. I suppose at worst you'd be turned inside out. Shouldn't laugh, it's not funny, Martin. But the reason I've come down here is came down here with Eve in her car. Probably not the best vehicle for travelling roads like this because we're on loose surface now. Very sort of, well, not flinty, more granity actually. I suspect it's material that's been brought in by the Ministry of Defence to shore up the path, but because limestone's not hard wearing, so they would have put something on top of it to stop it eroding too much, but you can see underneath the sort of flint and limestone. But just down here a ways, we've got some of that. It's not the best light for it, I'm afraid. You probably need an evening light to see it at its best, but we've got some of that undulating landscape that has left me intrigued, shall we say. So that's why I'm coming down here, so I can get a little bit of that. And I say the light's not at its best, so you need a low light really to show it off, but hopefully it'll work. See what I mean? You're not going to argue with that, are you? Well, this is very welcome. One of these observation posts here on the edge of the track. Levington Hill Vedette. Not sure what that means. Anyway, but yes, somebody's put a lovely seat here just for me to sit and have a break, and got a remarkable view. This, I don't speak German or read German, but this looks like another poignant reminder of what this place is all about. In remembrance of a German, presumably German soldier. I don't recognise those emblems. And I'm afraid I can't read that, but so I know the sun's not all that low, in fact it's not low at all, it's midday. But this is what I was trying to explain, the sort of folds in the ground and what seems or appears to have been formed by water erosion, with the meanders. But we are quite literally on top of a hill, and these are quite deep, so we're not sure where that water came from, unless at some point this is a geological fault with folds in the ground, or maybe this was caused at the end of the glaciers, as glaciers petered out and they left this sort of downland undulating landscape. I don't know, but let's see if I can zoom in. Not easy to pick up but just I can find get a pointer just there. I was talking about targets. I've lost it now. That rectangle. There it is. That dark rectangle is one, and down in the bottom of this sort of gully thing, I can't find it now. Is that it? Yes, that's it down there. There's another one, and further round there's a third one. Those are the targets I was referring to. And just over to the right here, that dark black area that disappears behind the brow of that hill, that was the section of the plain that caught fire a few weeks ago. So, but yeah, and it stretches for miles. You can really understand why some of the sort of more reluctant species, shall we say, like stone curlew, have taken to this place so well. It is so quiet, so peaceful, and why the reintroduction of the bustard has been a success as well, because the great bustard, because there is no disturbance over here. So peaceful. Of course, that lack of disturbance, so now when I say disturbance I mean human disturbance, they don't do well with humans around. They're too wary. This is perfect. You got hundreds of square kilometres of peace and quiet. Who wouldn't want that? I know I would. Now here, looking from the top, from the Ridgeway down, we can see Eve's stable. Won't be able to point out her horse because she puts it in during the heat waves. It's in the stable, but that's the field it's in, or usually in, and that's the stables. And if I remember correctly, and I hope I've got it right, it's Easterton Sands Equestrian Centre. I've probably got that very wrong, and I should probably get into big trouble for that, but never mind. But that's where Eve's horse is. Okay, well, if my oracle is correct, and my oracle is the yellow walking map, this, where are we? This byway will lead us back to Easterton. So that's it for the Lark Hill artillery ranges for today. We're going to start going down one of these lumpy bits, hills. We're going to go down one of these hills, and if my oracle's correct, which it has been so far, it should bring us out directly opposite the Royal Oak, which happens to be a public house, quite by chance. Almost opposite where we emerge onto the main road, or the road through Easterton anyway. So we'll see whether 30 odd years in the flatlands have diminished my orienteering skills. So far today I haven't got myself lost. Quite like getting myself lost sometimes, it's fun, but anyway, I didn't get myself lost. And a nice cold beer awaits, I hope. Knowing my luck, they probably close on Thursday lunchtimes. Anyway, we'll see. So here we are then. Orienteering skills intact. Map spot on. This is the Royal Oak. As it says on there, this is a cold pint of Horizon, and I'm going to get lunch as well. Happy days. So this, guys, is a Royal Oak lunch. Honey roast ham and mustard, and a pint of Wadworth Horizon. There we are, Wadworth. Marvellous. So then, as I eat lunch, that just about brings this one to a close. If you've enjoyed it or found it interesting, then please subscribe and give us a thumbs up. And if you want to know when the next one comes out, ring that old bell. See you soon. Bye.